it's probably a little bit of both. I think if you can take a step back, now that we're a day or two removed from it, it's probably as competitive a opening weekend as, and given the competition that we've had. Back to the days that I played, I think just starting right out of the chute, facing elite pitching and really good teams. I think there's a lot of good signs there, but also knowing that if you do tweak a couple of things, that you can probably get that extra hit. Where the margin for error is not quite as slim, where it comes down to one play or one pitch, and it normally is about 4 or 5 plays or pitches. But if we could have, maybe tweak a thing here or there, then maybe we're not so reliant on those things being perfect.
When you talk about those tweaks, is that lineup tweaks? Is that bullpen usage? Is that
probably both? Yeah, I wouldn't say lineup tweaks as much as just tightening up the screws a little bit with some of the offensive approaches. And then obviously, just there's a lot of guys that threw really well this weekend, and we didn't finish off a couple of games. So just figuring out which pieces of the puzzle are going to fit, and we knew that coming into it, right? I mean, there's a lot of pieces there until you actually get out there and face another team, and let alone a team that the caliber that we face. Like you don't know what you're going to get. So there's some good and some not so good in there, but there's a lot of positives to take out of it.
Is that the kind of weekend, though, that helps you on a Sunday in April, potentially, just having gone through that?
I think so. I think, looking at coming right out of the chute and facing those teams, and I look at when I'm going back and looking at the data from the weekend, and, the average fastball that we faced this weekend was 92, which is 2 full miles an hour faster than our entire year last year. So like you're facing the best right out of the chute, and then on the mound, I just the number of times that we were able to get stops was very encouraging. Everybody, we're all going to remember the ones we didn't get, but the number of stops we got with traffic on the bases, bringing guys in with a little bit of fire and able to get out of it, like we haven't seen a whole lot of that. So probably since our 21 staff, where we had some guys with plus stuff. So I thought that was kind of my takeaway there.
I guess going into a season, how much time do you kind of need to really kind of suss out the bullpen roles and when you bring in guys and who's comfortable with what? You need to see that a couple times, to know?
Probably. I think the way it played out was really the way we wanted it to play out. We probably had to go, if in a perfect scenario, probably could have gone to Perry a little bit later in the game as opposed to the 7th inning. Felt like we got a little behind in the middle innings there, but I think the way that it played out was really the way we wanted it to play out. But there weren't a whole lot of situations where we had to bring relievers in with 2nd and 3rd, no outs, or bases loaded, 1 out. Tucker obviously got us off the field, but we just were able to hand it off to guys in the spots we wanted them to be in for the most part. So they got us there in the late innings. Left-handed hitter took a great swing off KP. Morse got his 0, and obviously we weren't able to finish. But I think it's probably going to take being in those game situations again to be able to see, okay, like if you don't have your slider going, then you're not going to be able to get left-handed hitters out. If you're nice in those situations. So, there was a lot that we found out in a short amount of time.
How's the team health-wise right now? It kind of looks like Josh is in a sling out there. Is everyone okay, or where's that at?
No, Overbeek broke his finger. He took a hot shot in the 3rd game, and I think he went to chest it up and got his finger caught in there, so he'll be out. Probably looks for about 3 weeks. So kind of unfortunate news that we got yesterday, but that's where our depth is going to be tested a little bit. We've got some guys.
And who will fill in for him there at 3rd base?
Well, you've got some guys like, we didn't see Dylan Huft this weekend. He was our starting 3rd baseman in both the scrimmages and the fall. Red Stokes has played 3rd base. Ben Columbus can play 3rd base. Bryce Hughes can play 3rd base. So we've got some guys that can do it. Obviously, big shoes to fill. He showed really well this weekend, showed what we thought we would see from him from a leadership and fire standpoint. But like I said, we've got some guys that are ready and hungry to step in.
I feel like
were some nerves there. Yeah, there were definitely some nerves there, and to be expected, right? I mean, Brumball's playing his first game in over a year. Case Sanderson was playing in Nevada, Missouri this time last year. A lot of these guys they weren't quite, ready for that, but they were thrown into it, and I thought they showed well. I mean, there were some things that they did very positively. And are you ever really going to be ready to step in a big league ballpark? I mean, it's whether you're a senior or a freshman. I mean, there's going to be jitters there. If there's not, then it means you don't care enough.
I guess some of those early tests, obviously, you talked a little bit about Tucker getting an opportunity to kind of work out of the jam. Did you feel it was important for him to get that opportunity in a high leverage situation so early in the season?
Yeah, and he got indoctrinated pretty quick. His first up, I think the first hitter he faced, hits a double, and they hit some balls hard off of him, and then we knew we were just going to use him for a fire spot on Sunday, and he came in, and I mean, just more movement on the fastball. You could tell. I think the first day he was nervous, and he threw through his sink. I mean, he's best when he's got the hard sinker going, and you could see that he was throwing 93 with power sink there. That's what we're more accustomed to seeing. So you could tell he had been in the fire and was able to kind of get those nerves out of the way, and then he got in a bases loaded situation and did his thing.
With all those nerves kind of maybe shaking out a little bit, just how do you kind of view this upcoming weekend?
Well, it's going to be a huge test. I mean, geez, they're undefeated. Grand Canyon is, and beat some name opponents this weekend. They've got a really good pitching staff and a lot of tough left-handed hitters. So it's going to be a really good test. And they got a beautiful ballpark. It's going to be a great setting. We're going to play 3 night games. Should have good crowds there. A lot of pro Nebraska crowds this weekend. So that part of it, most of the fans were cheering for us. It felt like so. First time for a true road setting, so going to be a good challenge for our guys.
Do you have a sense what the rotation would be over a 4-game series like this?
Yeah, we're still kind of working through that to see for sure what we're going to do. We may see what they have. They have a game today before they announce what they're going to do, so we may kind of just go from there.
In terms of the climate, I mean, you got a dome at Globe Life Field. It's a little windy here in Nebraska. You head down to Phoenix, a little drier in the air.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing anything different to prepare for that, or is it just kind of business as normal?
We'll get a practice there tomorrow, so we'll fly out tomorrow and practice there tomorrow night. But they have a pretty big ballpark too. I mean, the ballpark this weekend is pretty vast, and I think they've got a really big left field, and it's kind of a graveyard to that side of the field. So better hit a bunch of line drives.
That short porch might help at all, the lower wall at least.
I guess we'll find out. I've never been there before, but we'll find out.
What's the challenge for a guy like Gabe, who goes from kind of a walk-on trying to prove himself to now he's kind of a more established guy, just making that transition into more of a veteran guy? What's the challenge?
Yeah, I think he's kind of been a slow starter a little bit. Even in the preseason, he was a little slow to get started, and same thing last year. Probably why he wasn't in the lineup, and he only got one at bat the first weekend last year. Just a little bit of a slow starter. I think once he kind of gets in the groove, I don't think he's a guy that's really going to overthink it too much. Just needs to get back in the competitive setting, and I think he'll start to find some barrels. And again, it was a tough test. I mean, our right-handed hitters did not fare well this weekend as a whole, and that's something that, talking about some of those tweaks, there's little things that I think we can do to kind of tighten up the screws there.
What did you see out of Dylan at shortstop this last weekend, and how have you seen him transition? How is his transition going from third to short?
Yeah, and he had a little bit of growing pains in some areas, but I thought he made a huge play to get us off the field in the 8th inning of the Tech game. I like how he commanded the defense. I think just the more he plays there, the more confident he's going to get. I mean, he's got everything you need to go be great there. We just need him to be to control the boring, just to be able to make the routine fundamental plays, because we know he's going to make, some of those wow plays too. So just when the ball's hit to you, we want you to, know that it's an out.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.